So let's continue our journey. We're working on book 2 in the Yoga Sutras, and we're on Sutra 2.9. Before we look at that in depth, I want to remind us where we came from. So Sutra 2.5 told us, ignorance is regarding the impermanent as permanent, the impure as pure, the painful as pleasant, and the non-self as the self. So ignorance, not seeing things as they really are, is the cause of suffering. It's one of the 5 obstacles, which are the kleshas, the things that stand in our way of seeing things as they really are. So today we're on the 5th obstacle, the last obstacle. And the sutra says, clinging to life, flowing by its own potency due to past experience, exists even in the wise. Clinging to life exists even in the wise. The word in Sanskrit is abhinivesaha, and it's basically saying we're afraid of dying. Like we're hold on tightly to life, whether it's our own or those of beings around us. And what the sutras are trying to teach us is that it's because we don't understand the nature of reality. Like our fear of losing is because we don't really see the big picture. And it exists even in the wise. So this isn't just like, okay, some people don't get it. It's wise people. It's all people really that have this instinct to hold on to life. And it's a source of suffering for a lot of us. So in the translation, Swami Satchidananda goes a lot into how we, as Westerners, we don't really have a grasp or a tradition of reincarnation. And he speaks to how if we understood reincarnation to mean that our soul transmigrates to other beings over time, maybe we wouldn't hold on so tightly. I'm not going to go a lot into that today. I think some of that's personal reflection. Does reincarnation exist? I mean, that could be hours of conversation. But I do want to offer just a couple of experiences. Most of you guys know that I've been through the shepherding of folks to the end of life, just family members, been at their bedside. And I also work at hospice, and so it's really our mission to help people have a good, comfortable end of life. And in my years of just kind of being a witness to this time, I've seen a few different situations that bring this to mind. So the clinging, the holding on. When I was with my mother-in-law, my first mother-in-law, had a couple. When you get to the end of life, if it's a slow progression, there's usually some symptoms and signs that the end is really near. And I knew this from working at hospice, and she started to show those signs. So there were changes in her breathing and just some other things that happened. And I called the hospice nurse and I said, this is what's going on. And she said, okay, call your husband and make sure he's nearby because the end is near. So that was a Thursday. And Friday came and went. Saturday came and went. And I called the nurse on Sunday and I said, she seems like she's really struggling, like she can't let go. Do you have any counsel? And she said, well, a lot of times if there's something unresolved, people will hold on. until they feel like they can let go. And so she said, do you think there's anybody that she's waiting to hear from? Anybody that she needs to just kind of close whatever's left hanging? And I said, well, maybe her mother, because her mother was still alive. And she said, well, if you can get her on the phone, even though she's in this very close to the end state, she can hear. So if you think it's her mother, why don't you see if you can get her to talk to her? So I called her sister first, and I said, do you think it'll be okay if I call Jean and ask her to talk to Linda? She said, yeah, I think you can do that. So I called her mother, Jean, and I said, you know, Linda's very close to the end, and I think she needs to hear your voice. I think she's just waiting to hear from you, and I'd love it if you could say some things to her, and I think it would help her. She said, well, I don't know what to say. And I said, well, I think she might just want you to say, I love you. I don't know, like it doesn't really matter, but I think she might need to hear your voice. So I held the phone up to her ear, and I could hear her say, I love you, honey. I love you. It's okay. And, you know, Linda was non-responsive in an outer way. And so we hung up, and she died a couple hours later. And I've heard the opposite story where somebody says, I think I'm ready to go. This happened to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. Her mother was under hospice care, and she was going through some stuff, and she looked at her daughter and she said, I'm ready. And she went to bed that night. She didn't wake up. So we can cling or we can not cling. And what the Sutra is saying is, we don't get it, that we're attached to something that isn't really the truth, that there might be something worse on the other side, or that our loved ones aren't ready to let us go and they won't be able to handle it, or that I need to say this before I can go. And that's a pretty powerful mental state. And so what we're doing in our practice is we're working with our mental states to find freedom from clinging. And it doesn't have to start with death, right? So we're doing all these practices on the easy stuff, like chocolate or anger, right? Like, I can resist this, or I can stay even though I want to go. So it's all practice. I will offer that there are practices meditating on death. I'm not going to lead us into one of those today. I think in a group setting especially, like, I don't feel like it's appropriate to ask everybody to do that together today. If you're interested, there's lots of resources out there. Thank God for the internet. But we're just going to do a breath meditation and a little guided work with non-attachment. And make the practice work for you. So it could be something simple like chocolate. It could be something bigger if that's what you need right now. So let's begin with the practice itself. Yep, get yourself situated. When you feel like your foundation and your body is in a pretty good place, and you're okay to close your eyes, do that. Or just lower your gaze if that's better for you. Start with what's real, which is what's physical. So really tangible, your seat, your legs, your feet. Sense in. As you sense into your body, notice any stronger sensations. So maybe there's a tingle or a tightness, heat. What do you physically experience right here? And maybe make a mental note of, oh, tension in my throat, tingle in my knee, whatever you're experiencing. And shift your attention to your breath. Just allow yourself to notice the breath in and the breath out. Breathing in, I know that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I'm breathing out. Notice how the breath comes and goes and then comes back and leaves again. A complete cycle of impermanence. Recall a moment of mental intensity from your week. So some experience that brought up agitation or some kind of elevated energy. If you feel safe to take yourself back into that place, recall the experience. Notice if right now the experience has the same grip on you, or if there's a little less of a grip. If you're still in the recollection of that experience, let it go, let it fall away. Direct your attention back to your breath or another anchor. Bring your attention back to that place in the body that you noticed when we first started. So that sensation, that feeling. How does it feel now? If the sensation is too strong or holding you, come back to your breath. If your breath doesn't feel safe, anchor into another physical thing that's okay, your hands. Some place that feels okay. Right now, the azaleas are blooming in Savannah. It's beautiful pink flowers. And they'll die and fall off the plants. There's a little litter of pink flowers around one of them in my neighborhood. It's really quite beautiful. And we can feel sad that the beauty's gone or look forward to next year. I remember when I saw my first bloom of azaleas this year, it was almost felt like a surprise, like, oh, there they are. The delight is not the obstacle. It's the holding on. Take a bigger breath. Do that one more time, a nice big full breath. When you're ready, open your eyes. Insights, comments, questions? All right, well, I hope you have a delightful day. And this day will end, and you'll get another one tomorrow. Maybe. All the more reason to make it delightful. All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's good.
Thank you, Kate.
You're so welcome. Happy spring.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.